So how many of you are a small and mighty team of one person or one person plus a co-founder? How many of you have 3, 5, 10 employees? How many of you have more than 10? Sweet. So our talk is for you. So whether you're planning on hiring people or currently hire people, we've talked about place and the importance of community. The next important thing is the power of who. Who's making your product and service, who's representing you, and who do your clients and consumers go, that's the brand, that's what I want, and I'm on board. I'm gonna drink the Kool-Aid. So we're gonna talk about people. We're gonna talk about the power of second chances, that being one of many aspects of having the best people on your team. As Jordan mentioned, my name is Genevieve Martin. I'm the Executive Director of the Dave's Killer Bread Foundation. I'm super stoked to be here. I am a Portland home and grown girl, as is our brand, Dave's, and so it's just really cool to be at a cool event. Sorry, every other event I go to, and to be able to talk about how this works within our community and across the country. So thanks for having us here. Who are
Absolutely.
you?
Yeah, what am I doing up here? I'm Julie, and I'm the co-founder of Ground Up Nut Butters. I am also grown and raised in Portland as well, and we actually make all of our product right across the street at the Other Red in one of the commissary kitchens. So super excited to be here. So I'll just give a little backstory of our company, as some of you might not be as familiar as you are with Dave's. So we started about 3 years ago, and the mission came before our product, which is kind of unique in a startup company. So I was living in Uganda, overseeing an employment training program there, and saw the power in providing opportunities to those overcoming barriers. And I moved back to my hometown and was really bored in a lot of jobs that I found, and wanted to do more meaningful work. So I started meeting with different nonprofit organizations in town and saw that there was this gap in employment for individuals overcoming adversity, that they had the motivation to work but lacked the skills, experience, or confidence to be hired by an employer. So I sought out to see if there was another company doing the work. Obviously, Dave's Killer Bread is a great example. But yeah, so I began Ground Up with the idea of starting a on-the-job training program, and then I met my business partner, and Nut Butter kind of came into the picture, and we started the two together. So we'll get into more of what the training program looks like, but just a little background.
So unlike Ground Up, second chance employment, hiring, so just in case people here aren't familiar, who knows about Dave's Killer Bread? Okay, thank God. Yeah. Half my job is done.
Nice, that's good.
All right, so for the one person that didn't raise their hand and felt a little silly, we are the #1 selling sliced organic bread in the country. We are distributed all the way across Canada. We've been in that position since May of 2015 and have not moved. Our competitors they're trying. We'll give them that. They're trying real hard. But the reason that was attainable in 2015, so I've been with the company for nearly 10 years. When I started, we were sold in 4 states, and we had about 75, 80 people on our team. So healthy size, we were feeling good. It was already becoming a brand that the family was kind of going, wow, this is bigger than we thought. We have always lived here. We've always made bread since the 50s. This is taking off. What's happening? It's just sliced bread. So as that happened, we started getting orders overnight. We would literally be getting an order on Tuesday that needed to be filled, baked, packaged, delivered by Thursday morning. And we're looking at our team going, we don't have enough people on this floor to actually execute this order. We're either going to have to say, sorry, we can't fill it. That's a bummer. Nobody wants to do that. Or we're going to need people fast. And so at that point in time, that was probably about 2011, 2012, when we were experiencing about 40% growth year over year for a couple of years. We were not prepared for it. Talk about building the plane as you fly it. We looked at our team and we said, all right, who are our best performers? Who are the people that are working hard, that don't care if it's not in their job description, they're up for it anyways? Who are the ones that are promoting and sticking around and are super loyal? And we found that in most cases, not every single case, but in most cases, the common attribute of these individuals were that they were formerly incarcerated. So we knew Dave's story. Dave's not shy about sharing his story, but we hadn't really talked about this as a talent acquisition strategy. We were like, Dave's great. We know we've got a few people on the team. That's good enough. And then when we saw this attribute, we go, well, crap. all right, let's lean into it. We don't really know what we're doing. Let's just give this a shot. So to solve our need for people overnight, we built recruiting partnerships with community organizations here in Portland. And that was where the magic started to happen. That's where our intention and our meaningful approach to second chance employment really took hold. Everything up until that point was accidental. At this juncture is when we said, we need 12 people. Here's the environment they'll be working in. Here's the type of work. This is very labor intensive. Sometimes it's a cold area. Sometimes it's a hot area. Do you have capable people that you can send us? And that was really the birth of what we coined as second chance employment. Fast forward a few years, we realized we'd made some huge mistakes that were our mistakes. We'd also had a massive amounts of success. So we'd learned all these really messy lessons. And as we looked at the community and we started looking at the country and that criminal justice reform was just becoming bipartisan and people were just starting to talk about this as a normal conversation, the thing that was never discussed was employment. Employment is the #1 indicator of success for somebody coming back to the community or with a conviction history. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Get stable housing, you need to have a job. To have a job, you need stable housing. So we need to have some sort of intervention. And so what was really beautiful is we are not a social service. We are not a charity. We are a for-profit company that makes killer bread, and we needed people to make it. So we brought people in, we treated them like everybody else. They became successful and then contributed to the community. So that makes, it's a win-win-win for all of us. At that point, we realized we've learned something really important, and we don't see our peers, our vendors, our suppliers, people across the country doing this and having this conversation. So we decided to launch the Dave's Killer Bread Foundation. That was about 5 years ago we made that decision. So we exist with the sole purpose of helping you hire the best person for the job regardless of their background. So I'm gonna put a pause on that. I wanna learn more about how your travels and then putting nut butter together, like how did this marriage happen?
Yeah, it might seem a little random.
Yeah. By the way, you can taste both of these products in the back after this, so do that.
Yeah. So I was looking for a product, had this mission, saw the need for that, but was like, well, I need a product. And also, Ground Up is a for-profit business, so we really believe in business as a powerful tool for social good. So I knew that it would involve having a product as part of it. So my business partner now, Carolyn, was making nut butter, and we worked together at our last job, and I tried it and was like, where can I get this? I'm an avid nut butter fan. And pretty much overnight, she was like, I want to start a food company, but not if there's a bigger social mission. There's enough nut butter on the market, even though we think ours is the best. But yeah, so we kind of brought the two together. And really with our training program side, that started from day one. So outside of Carolyn and I, up until about a year ago, all of our employees came from partner organizations that we work with, and then we would train within, and then individuals would be able to move up into more roles of responsibility and get management opportunities as well. So as Genevieve touched on, partnerships are really crucial for us in our training program so that we can do what we do best, and that's on-the-job training, and we partner with organizations and social workers who are able to help the individuals we work with other areas of their life. So we partner with Portland Rescue Mission, Central City Concern, and Outside In. So primarily the women that we hire are overcoming different adversities such as homelessness, battling mental illness, domestic violence, and sex trafficking. So we find that employing an array of individuals overcoming different adversities, there's a lot of power in the community that comes from that, and the support system that's built outside of Carolyn and I that just within is really powerful to witness. So we say it's a 6 to 9 month training program, so it looks a little bit different than as Genevieve was sharing. And we really meet individuals where they're at, and success looks different for each of them. So when someone joins on, we find that confidence building is like one of the first things that gets boosted working in a kitchen. So it seems like, oh, it's really hard work, but roasting coconut, someone's succeeding in that, they really take ownership over that job or whatever the job responsibility is that we're giving. So we provide job training in production side of our business as well as order fulfillment and sales. So really everything is a small business that we're doing. We bring our employees and provide opportunities for them to gain job skills and confidence, as well as a big thing is a reference. Because we find a lot of the women that join our team may have a gap in employment. And so being able to provide a reference and being able to see job history, even of 6 to 9 months, can go a long way for future opportunities.
So when she's telling us about training and how we're really raising up the talent that we need, I don't know about you, but I hear opportunity. That's the word cloud that pops over my head. Does anybody else hear that? No? Okay. The opportunity I hear is recruiting partner. If you already have a product and a company and you have practices that you're training people to go through, but it's temporary. It's 6 to 9 months. This isn't forever employment. It might be for a couple of people, right, as you grow the company and they go into leadership roles. But your goal is to serve many, many more than that. Where do they go? Do you know where they go? They go to you. These are your next best hires because they've had training, they've had wraparound support, they've had services. I can't imagine asking for any better talent, quite honestly. To touch on the talent pool, so it's really easy to be excited and passionate about it because this is what we do, and it's really, really awesome. But I also know that there's probably a lot of apprehension that's sitting in this room, right? And it's uncomfortable to say, yeah, but this is why I feel hesitant. And so let's just address that head on, okay? I know that there's probably questions in your mind about, yeah, well, that sounds good, but probably just this type of crime, right? Like, I'm comfortable with substance abuse. I get that it's impacted my family or a friend. I'll hire that person. But in our heads, we still find that we're categorizing people. We're still saying, I'll take substance abuse, drug crimes, nonviolent crimes. This feels safe and comfortable, and I can get this in my bubble. But then we also step over here, and we're still avoiding a huge part of the population that says, look, I have violent crime. I have Measure 11 crimes. I have things that when I say it out loud will make your stomach cringe. What do we do with that? Do we leave that there and ignore it because we're uncomfortable? Or do we lean into uncomfortable conversations? Because I will tell you, every time, when you lean into that uncomfortable conversation for a person that is ready, that is truly ready for a job, and they're there saying, I want to perform for you, that is the person you want. And there's 2 things you're looking for to help you feel a little more comfortable in this, okay? Because it's uncomfortable the first couple times. If we have time, I'll tell you my first really uncomfortable one. But you're looking for 2 things. You're looking for ownership and accountability for their actions. Why were they in the place they were at when they made that mistake, whether it was intentional or accidental? What got them there? The second thing you need to know is, who are they now? Just because they screwed up at 17 or 25 or 32 doesn't mean that that's indicative of the rest of their life. How many of you want to be known for the stupidest mistake you made in your life? Anybody? Raise your hand. Okay, good. Me either. These are folks that when they can speak to those 2 things, and it doesn't have to be eloquent, they just need to be able to touch on those things. When they can do that, and you've assessed them, you've interviewed them like everybody else, and you go, no, that's the best fit for this job. And then you get to this tricky conversation. My challenge to you is lean into it anyways. Because what we found at Dave's, and what we see at all of our partner companies, is that these are some of the best employees they've ever had, that we've ever had. When you talk about tenure, and we heard from McMinimans, people that are 15, 20, 25, 30 years, we see that in our workforce. We see people that have been with our parent, or not our parent company, sorry, our kind of beginning company that were there for 20 years because they understand what opportunity means and how they have less of them. Our last CEO used to joke that this was a part of the workforce that would walk through a brick wall for you if they could. On that note, I want to just take like a 5-second break and say, none of this work is possible for us. We don't get the honor and privilege of talking your ear off about this. We could do this all day, I swear. Without the people that we work on behalf of. So I have somebody from my team that's here today. She's been with me for over 8 years. She's been with the company Dave's for over 11. Today is her 12-year anniversary of being released from Coffee Creek. So I don't know if she wants to stand up. She's over there. But I just want to acknowledge, like, this is what success looks like. That's loyalty. You want people on your team that are going to work hard for you, that see your vision, that want to execute on your plan, and want to be an extension of you. So I'm not saying every hire you ever make is going to come from really adverse backgrounds. But what I really want you to think about is, are we accidentally discounting this entire part of our workforce? We see that in companies, and I'll stop talking, I swear. We see that in companies a lot, where they're accidentally not including people. It's not on purpose. They just used whatever kind of crafted handbook or employment policy they'd been handed, and they go with it. But they realize this actually didn't allow for any kind of inclusion whatsoever, because we're recruiting from the exact same talent pipelines. We're using the exact same job boards. So we're seeing the same people over and over, and they look like me, they sound like me. All of the things are the same. We're not going to be better if we all look the same in our workforce. We're not going to make the best decisions we can if we all think the same as one another. So that means we have to take active steps forward. That means we have to think about the language we use in our job postings. We have to think about our website. We have to think about, are we putting signals that are going to tell somebody with a background or an adverse background that says, I'm not even going to bother. They're not going to even look at me. Or are we putting signals out there that say, hey, we'll consider you? It's not a guarantee, but let's have a conversation. All right, I'm going to shut up. It's your turn. And then maybe we'll have time for stories.
Great. What would you like me to address? Just continue on with what you're...
Yeah, I mean, think about like, the concerns. You guys built a startup. It's entirely around raising people up to the next level.
Yeah.
Surely you had lots of questions and like, really? That's what you're going to do?
Totally. I think that was interesting because from the beginning, it was like people told us, like, you're crazy. Like, you're not only going to start your company, but you're going to start it with this mission in place, and all of the employees you hire are going to be those overcoming different adversities. But as Genevieve has shared, it's like we have had, many challenges with reliability and being able to keep employees. But as we've learned a lot, we've been able to grow with our partnership organizations, and they're able to know, look, these are the things that are important and are in place so that we can set someone up for success. Because I think what we find is someone who's still struggling to find housing, they're not necessarily ready, and it's not fair for us to say, come work for us 20 hours a week when that is what they're focused on each day. So through having strong partnership organizations, that's helped the women that we employ be able to be more successful in our training program. And so we work super closely with case managers at different organizations, and actually part of our program, which is really unique, is we do, or I guess I do right now, bi-weekly mentorship meetings with each woman that's on our team. And that's something, we're still a smaller team, so we have 10 to 12 employees, so we're able to maintain that, and that's something we hope we can maintain over time. But that opportunity to provide mentorship and really meet someone where they're at and the goals that they're trying to reach, we're able to teach a lot of different skills and help someone grow towards whatever that is that they're reaching towards. So I really find that if you're looking to hire, obviously through us is a great pipeline, but finding partner organizations, and I'm happy to share, as I know Genevieve as well, but the partners that we work with are really wonderful and are really on board, and there's constantly way more applicants that we get than we're able to offer opportunities to. So we always bring someone in for an interview for that experience, and it's like weekly, like soul crushing to have to tell someone no who really wants that opportunity, and knowing that, as you shared, there's a lot of employers that might just instantly not even give that opportunity. And so we find that individuals come more confident into interviews at our company, knowing like, oh, I've been told you're an inclusive environment and that you're open to those who are overcoming barriers, who have a gap in their resume. Not to say that they, we've had women who were a bookkeeper and then something happened in life and now it's been 3 years since they've worked and they're completely discounted. And so it really sucks to see that, but then it's exciting to be able to welcome someone in, and you instantly just see a burst in confidence when they start sharing. And I'm like, no problem, like, let's carry on. Tell me more about yourself, what you want to learn. And we focus so much more on the positive and the growth side than your past. Because as Genevieve said, it's like no one wants to be held accountable for something that they did 5-10 years ago. And so we can like start with a fresh slate and welcome each person in as they are.
Okay, we have time for a story. So here's a massive failure. We're entrepreneurs, we're startups, we're used to failure, right? Right? We're in a good crowd? Oh, you were all way too quiet for that. I don't believe you.
Like there's got to be
Thank you,
some
Jordan.
failure in here.
All right, keeping it real. Okay, so my first, why I was able to stay at Dave's, I'm really not entirely sure. Maybe that was my second chance.
There we go.
So early on, I was not hired to do this work. My previous life was as a ballerina, and then it was as hospitality and restaurant management. Like, that's my world. My world has now changed and morphed, which is great. But at the time, I was hired at Dave's to create an internal cafe, oversee the build-out, the project management, build the recipes, the menu, and the team to serve all of the employees of Dave's every day that they work. Free meals, snacks, beverages. That was my job. I was comfortable with it. Let's do it. So we start the interview process. Everything's going smoothly, except for the build-out, because those things always take 200% longer than they're supposed to. And we're bringing on the team, and a gentleman is sitting in front of me, and he goes, we're getting through the interview. He's clearly skilled. He's clearly capable. He's been cooking for decades. No problem. He goes, I feel like I should tell you something. Okay, sure. What's that? Well, I was recently released from prison. Okay. This was like 10 years ago. I was much more timid, not as confident, and certainly not as assertive. And I'm just sitting there quietly going, okay, I know we do that, I think. Tell me more about that. Not really sure that I actually want to hear this. Maybe it's better not to know. And he goes, well, it was for possession of a firearm and robbing a bank. What? Okay. Deep breathing, saying internal mantras, and just trying to be really, in my head, I've already shut down. I'm already like, thank you. Have a nice day, we'll let you know. But instead, I say, okay, well, clearly you're not very good at it. That's what came out of my mouth, because I was not trained or prepared for this. That's not what you say in an interview, people. Thank God he had a sense of humor, and he goes, you're right, because I served time. I go, great, well, tell me about that experience. And that's when we really leaned into that uncomfortable conversation. I was more uncomfortable with it than he was. We have to get over ourselves. We're our own worst enemy when we're selecting and assessing and finding people. That if we allow ourselves to be uncomfortable just for a few minutes, we can find incredible diamonds in the rough. He's still with us. I did hire him. I checked with HR. It was totally fine. And that was actually one of those hires that became the beginning of us doing this work thoughtfully and intentionally and not accidentally. So that we could also get our hiring managers and our supervisors more comfortable with it. Rather than it being just a known thing that we kind of sort of do, this became really our ethos. And this is why we have one of the most dedicated workforces. This is why we're the #1 selling sliced organic bread in the country. It's because of our people. The product is great, don't get me wrong. But if it wasn't for the people that make it every day and make it possible, we'd just be a local bread maker. It'd still be amazing, but that's all we'd be. So that's my uncomfortable conversation story. I'm sure you've had some discomfort and
yeah, lots of discomfort. Yeah, I also wanted to make sure to point out before I share a story, on the back of your program, there's a little chart that we put on there, and that kind of shares a little bit more about some of the barriers that we see the employees we're hiring may be facing in some of our solutions. So that's something you can take a look at, and we may have time to touch on it more as well.
So you have no excuses for thinking about this differently and taking action steps.
And our emails are on there, so.
My hope is that by the end of today, we are so bombarded by emails of how do we do this and how do we get great people that we wish we hadn't put our email on that piece of paper. Can you make our dreams come true?
That's our goal. We're ready for it. So I guess we've had we currently have 10 employees, but we've probably had about 30 or 40 people overall, but have interviewed a lot of employees. So yeah, it definitely, as much as I had worked in Uganda overseeing a training program, it still looked different here, and especially being my own company with my co-founder as well. But yeah, I'd say we've had some of the biggest, I think, learnings for me have been just in, creating the culture and the interactions amongst our employees. And when we have situations that, I think that's like the uncomfortable point of like, oh, someone's having a panic attack, I'm not a social worker. Like, how do I handle this? And I think those situations can cause you to like clam up and then realize like, oh, we're all just people. How would I handle this situation if my friend was standing here and going through this situation? So I think that, we've had situations like that in the kitchen and realizing like, oh, I've learned a lot from our employees and how to handle different situations and how we can just create this environment that is totally inclusive and that everyone feels accepted no matter what they're facing or what they're experiencing.
So the question for those of you in the back is around, as we bring this in, it's top down, we've got commitment, we've got buy-in. How do we get the rest of the team, the rest of the employees in the workforce comfortable and okay with it? Yeah? Okay. So that's a super valid question. Thankfully for us, we had Dave telling his story all along, so it wasn't a secret. It's just, it was kind of a secret that we were doing this for our entire workforce for a while. So we did have a moment in the executive team met our CEO years ago, decided this is a thing we're going to be public about. We're going to talk about it. Marketing said, really? Okay. They didn't really want to do it. Thankfully, it worked out. Or we wouldn't be Dave's Killer Bread. The way that we do that is it's really, really on you as the company. So as the CEO, as leadership, as human resources, to own that conversation. It is your duty to own that commitment and not waver. If you waver, everyone underneath you wavers. If you stay committed, if you stay positive and optimistic and true to that North Star of best person for the job, regardless of background, the rest will follow. Every once in a while, you're going to meet somebody that goes, I'm just not on board. They might have a valid reason. They might have a really stupid reason. Don't say that. But a valid reason, and we've experienced this, is first of all, we don't share who has a background. That's on the individual to share their story if and when they ever want to. That's none of our business. We treat it like a medical condition. If you want to share it, fine. If it impacts the job, which it rarely does, we'll let your supervisor know, maybe. But in the age of Google and the ability to look up people's names and see whether or not they had a mugshot or an arrest record or a conviction or anything like that, and God forbid it was a noteworthy excursion, we have to be prepared for that. So we have a private conversation if somebody's concerned and says, hey, I just found out that John has a background and I'm really uncomfortable. And we have to own that conversation by saying, okay, well, is John doing his job? Is he doing what we hired him to do, or are there issues on the job? Every single time they go, no, they're doing the job. I'm just uncomfortable. It's my feelings. It's that discomfort that's getting in the way. And that's when you as the company has to say, okay, I hear you and I see you. We selected John on purpose. We believe he's the best fit for that job, and we're really proud to have him on our team. But we're also really excited that you're a part of our team because you're part of what's going to make us successful. So I'm happy to talk about your concerns. I'm happy to talk about if you had a personal experience that's maybe coloring why you feel uncomfortable. But we are really happy to have this well-oiled machine, this inclusive workforce. 2 times that I know of, we've had that person that was concerned say, look, I can't get on board because I found out what the crime is and my family's been impacted by a similar crime and I just can't rumble with it. In those scenarios, we were large enough and we were lucky enough that we could move people into a different position, like a different department. So it didn't hinder their ability for either one of the people to be employed, but we were able to stand true to our values and our people. Both people were high performers and we wanted them to be a part of the team, so we were able to make that accommodation. That's reasonable. Does that help? Okay. I think we are done. We're being told to get off the stage. We'll be around.
Yes.
Please bother us on our emails. This is all very possible. It's very practical. You can do it.
and come have some bread and nut butter in the back.
Yeah.
Thank you.